My name is Bill. Welcome to Night Terrors, Tuesday night edition. Oh no, it's Taco is here. She has her bathroom back. She says the old one-person shower stall is now a two-person stall. So roomy and better. A walk-in stall instead of stepping over bricks. Sounds nice, Taco. We're just looking at... Good evening, Gotcha Man. Gotcha Man, there is an email waiting for you, my friend. I just posted it like probably 30 minutes ago. Taco took the innuendo. Thank you, Taco. We are looking for suggestions. Oh, thanks, Gotcha. Appreciate it. Good evening, Eli Redshirt. Eli says, good evening to Bill and crew. Any ideas, Eli? Let's see if I can come up with something YouTube-based. We're not playing any videos. Just looking for ideas. Mickey 17, that looks interesting. Science fiction movie. Philip Blair has arrived. Welcome, sir. Mr. Blair. Well, as a tech crew like a producer, welcome David Bryce. He says, good evening. Philip, no crew. I thought that what Eli meant was Bill in chat. I think that's what he meant. If not, Eli, I have no crew. This is the crew. You're looking at it. I wish I had a producer. A lot of you guys would make a very good producer for me. If you're in the upstate New York area, drop me an email. The email address is in the description. Zerithian is here. Welcome, X. Zerithian says, hello to everyone, and hello, Bill. I wish I had a producer. If you're in the Tri-City area, Albany, Schenectady, Troy, drop me a line. Email in the description. The Morning Dove is here. Wow, I'm back on YouTube. Yes, back on YouTube for forever. Not leaving again. Big mistake to leave. Gotchman said, Gotchman says, download. I'll check it out after the show and get back to you. Oh, cool. Thank you, G. Appreciate it. Greetings from Shazbot Shiznit. Looking for ideas, Shazbot? Armando is here. Welcome, Mondo V. Mondo says, hi, Bill. Hi, all. Taco has a watch streak. Congratulations, Taco. Let's see. Oh, sorry to leave this political crap up. I don't know how that gets in my feed. One step beyond, emergency only. Ooh, and that's probably public domain too. But we're not going to do any video. I'm just looking for ideas here. Philip Blair says that would be cool. Your producer could get calls ready and screen for trolls. Yeah, and make sure I'm not muted. Good idea, Mr. Blair. Yeah, I don't know where this political crap comes from. Someone else has been using my YouTube. Honey? I want to get horror stuff. Maybe I better switch the thing. Switch account. Let's go to the horror specialties site. Oh, good. Taco has one. Do tell. Oh, no, it's Taco. Mondo says, all that talk about eating people's pets, that horror. Yeah, I wish we could do politics, but that's another channel. Oh, has anyone heard Paul Harrell passed away? I hate to break it to you guys. He pre-recorded a YouTube video the title is "I'm Unalived." We're not going to play this.
Hi, everyone.
We're not going to play this. Oh, I have to cut this out now. Damn it. We're 5 minutes in. I got to turn off my autoplay. Is there anything looking forward to tonight's show? Here we go. George Harry Stores and Maria. Unaliving. Thank you, Taco. You got to be fast if you want to beat Taco. Yeah, Paul Harrell passed away. May God rest his soul. Okay. 2 seconds. Yeah, I'm going to have to cut that out. I'll get it cut out. I got to turn off the autoplay. Where is it? Settings, maybe? Would it be here? Quality, playback speed, normal. Where do you turn off autoplay? Oh, here it is, right here, right? Autoplay is on. Autoplay is off. Don't understand what's going on. Let's autoplay the next one. Green tea. Oh, nice. The Antwalkers of Hiroshima. Thank you, Green tea. Gotta make sure I have my list set up. Got it. Better write down who that was. That's Taco first. And then green tea. Philip Blair says, tell it, don't recommend this channel anymore. Then it starts recommending stuff from a channel similar. That sounds like a good one. I'm going to copy that. You'll see a flash on the screen. Thank you, Philip. Good one, Shazbot, the Great Chicago Fire. We need 4 suggestions for tonight. 1 more would be excellent. We're going to do 1 half hour per if we can. Let me rename this. And that is Shazbot. And got to rename this as my underscore and go. Good stuff. Green Tea says you might want to have a backup. Yeah, that's true. We'll take 5. And you guys can think about that. Rest in peace, Paul Harrell. Okay, let's start with Taco. George Harry Stores and Maria's Unaliving. The Unaliving of George Harry Stores. The Unaliving, the Friends of Gorse Hall. Let's try Gorse Hall. It's in the UK. Eli with number 4. You made the list, Eli. Thank you. Welcome, Little Hornification and Franstein. And Franstein with a standby. Okay, we're good, people. In fact, Franstein, I did a whole video workup on that. Decided not to do it. It is somewhere around one of the ones I did all the work on, then decided not to do, but I could look for that. In fact, as a matter of fact, I might do that first thing next Tuesday's show. By the way, people, no more Monday shows. And this Saturday's show is going to be the last show of the old format. We're going to all viewer request Tuesdays and Saturdays, and of course Wednesdays on Twitch only will be our double feature. This Wednesday, Zombieland and Centurion. Zombieland, where they tongue-in-cheek killing zombies in an amusement park. And Centurion, I got to remember the names because I can't see it on the screen. In Centurion, a cohort of Legion warriors gets stuck behind lines in Gaul and has to fight their way out of the woods. Good movie, Centurion. I missed the Glycon Serpent. Who said Glycon? I totally missed it. I'm going to copy that as if it's from Zerithian. Or I'll just copy it. That could be number 6. Welcome, Brooke Birch. Who suggested Glycon Serpent? Well, probably Zerithian did. Okay. Good stuff. Okay, we're all good people on suggestions. Oh, Green Tea had Glycon Serpent. Okay, Green Tea. The unaliving of George Harry Storrs in 1909 has fascinated, horrified, and intrigued people from that date to present, and is one reason why the name Gorse Hall has traveled far beyond the boundaries of Stalybridge. The mystery may have started long before the unaliving itself. One of George's longtime friends was solicitor Robert Innes. That's lawyer to people across the pond. In 1897, Innes and his wife Emma decided that a governess should be employed to educate their eldest daughter. Then a Bavarian governess named Maria Hoel was taken to live and work at their home. I guess their home was called Homlia. Like, what's the name of the, To Gone with the Wind? They named their home, which was situated near the Stalybridge entrance to Stamford Park. It was called Homlia. Mr. Storrs, being a regular visitor to the Innes house, became quite friendly with Maria. And was seen regularly out walking with her in Stamford Park. Not a good sign. One evening in early 1907, Maria walked out of the house, never to return. The winter, I predict a triangular problem here. The winter of 1907 was severe, and the waters of the canal were frozen over in most places. 3 weeks later, Maria's remains were taken from the now thawing canal near Nowell Street, Stalybridge, or Nowell Street, considerable distance from the house that she had walked out of 3 weeks earlier. Although no post-mortem was carried out. Maria's actions previous to her apparent unaliving gave every indication that she could have been with child. As the only men with which she was known to associate were the minister, who lived in Manchester, Robert Innes, and George Harry Storrs, it is suspected she became pregnant by Mr. Storrs. So was Storrs like I'm getting behind her. He owned the house, right? Well, George lost friends, those Robert Innes, and his wife Emma, governess. No, this is over at another house. The Innes house. No, the Innes house. The second part of this intriguing unaliving starts on the night of September 10th, 1909, 2 years later. At approximately 9:30 p.m., George Harry Storrs and his wife Margaret were with a friend of Mrs. Storrs, Georgina MacDonald, in the dining room when suddenly a voice from outside the window shouted, "Hands up or I'll shoot." A shot was fired and the window was broken. Imagine a stick up through a window. Storrs, aged 49 years, was built strongly, and he jumped up and ran to the window where, pointing at him through a hole in the broken glass, was a gun. For an instant they faced each other, Storrs and the gunman. Storrs then shouted, I'm going after him. No, Harry, don't, cried his wife, rushing to restrain him. But it was not necessary, because by then the man had gone. Who was the gunman, and what was his motive? Was it an attempted armed burglary? Or had the man some sort of grudge or score to settle with George, and lost his nerve at the last moment? George Harry Storrs would have had enemies. He was a tough, successful businessman, mill owner, and building contractor. Because he was a businessman, a big businessman, he had enemies? His creditors, maybe. The sort of a man that it was a bit rough and ready. He might have easily been involved in bitter business disputes. Like the guy with the killdozer. But it seems unlikely that this would be the reason for the unaliving. He was a wealthy man, son of William Storrs, who had built the market and the old swimming baths in Stalybridge. The infirmary, now Tameside Hospital, on Darton Road in Ashton, and other fine local buildings. Perhaps that was the reason why the police decided to offer him protection. Yeah, that was why. It was agreed that at least one policeman would patrol the grounds each night, and that a warning bell should be installed on the roof of Gorse Hall to be rung in an emergency. I wonder if this bell will come up in the near future. It is said that a few weeks before the dreadful unaliving, Storrs on his way home caught a man on the grounds of Gorse Hall. That is, and the man was severely beaten for this intrusion. But they don't say by whom. The police patrolled the grounds every night. Get the footman. That is, until the night of November 1st, nearly 2 months after the shooting. By this time, the shock of the attack on September 10th was wearing off. November 1st, 1909 was Election Day. And in the evening, every available police officer was needed for crowd control in the town. Shortly after 9 o'clock, once again, an intruder crept to the dark grounds towards the isolated mansion. Mr. and Mrs. Storrs and Marion Lindley, their niece, were chatting in the dining room while their cook, Mary Evans, prepared supper. The cook was startled to see a man lurking by the kitchen door, and with the light being poor, she at first mistook him for Worrell the coachman. That's the family muscle. Beat him up, Worrell. I don't know. "Oh, Worrell," she said, "you frightened me," but a split second later, she realized she was mistaken. The man was taller, with a mustache, thinner and younger than Worrell. To add to her confusion, he was pointing a gun at her. "Say a word and I shoot," he said quietly. Same M.O., but firmly. Dropping a jug of milk. Okay, jugs back then, it had to have crashed, right? Milk all over the floor. She ran from the kitchen into the hall screaming. "There's a man in the house." Hearing the commotion, George, his wife, and niece jumped up and ran towards the kitchen. That's what Worrell's for, come on. In the hallway for a second, the two men faced each other silently. I don't know about Worrell, by the way. I don't want to insult Worrell's descendants. I do not know about Worrell. A fight started with Storrs being more than a match for the intruder. So George Storrs had the upper hand. During the fight, the intruder for the first time showed his fear. When Maggie Storrs with a shillelagh. Now we got to see shillelaghs. There may be some people out there who don't know what a shillelagh is. And since I can't copy it, I have to know how to spell it. 2 L's. Shillelagh. Let's see if I can get it. We're going to do pictures. Images, please. Shillelagh. Here's a shillelagh. There's a bunch of shillelaghs. Let's see, big old picture. Assorted shillelaghs. Whoops. A lot of them are ridged. For better handholds, I take it. Don't drop your shillelagh. Now that's not a shillelagh on the chain. Look at this artwork. That's not a shillelagh on the chain. Oh, wait a second. It's a shillelagh attached to a mace. Let's just call that, right? That's got to be difficult to wield. That's got to be difficult to wield. This one on here looks like your economy shillelagh on the leftmost. The mallet shillelagh. The boar's head shillelagh, let's say. A shillelagh with a missing head, perhaps? Looks like. Yeah, it's got to have some on the end if it's going to be a shillelagh. It looks like they're all shellacked to the same sheen. I wonder if someone had a collection and all of them except for this guy here that looks like he has bark missing, and this guy here is shellacked to the same degree. Perhaps this person shellacked his shillelagh collection. Say that 12 times fast. Natural head on this shillelagh and this one. These two twins here. More golf-like clubs. And finally, natural one with a very small head. Isn't that interesting? Are you sure that's not a walking stick for a little person? No, it's got those ridges. Oh, maybe the ridges are where branches were. So maybe I'm mistaken. Or maybe they left the branches on, the branch things on, for grip purposes. I thought these were carved in the wood like an idiot. That's the rightmost is a formidable weapon. Yeah, that's the heaviest too. Looks the heaviest and the longest. Get a good swing in there, bonk. This is not my advice to you to fight. My advice is to walk away from a fight. Where's the shillelagh? She had taken from its wall mounting in the hallway. He called out, "I won't shoot." Maggie took the gun from the intruder as Harry Storrs called out, "Run and ring the bell." Hearing the bell, 2 police constables started running up the mile-long driveway. It says a mile long. To Gorse Hall, really? I wonder if it still is. We got to take a look at that. Gorse Hall. Gorse Hall in the... Where does it say this was? Is it in Ireland? Only one of the Irelands is in the UK, right? And this is back in the early 1900s. Stalybridge, it says. So we'll say Stalybridge. Oh, I can copy. It's just very light highlighting. And what's the name of that? Gorse Hall, is it? Gorse Hall, G-O-R-C. Gorse Hall, Stalybridge. Gorse Hall. Paste. UK. It is in England. I want to see that mile-long driveway. Oh, wow, it's among the trees, perhaps? Normally it's like in the middle. Let's go Gorse Hall. Can we try this whole thing again? Can we copy this? Try it. It doesn't copy. Can we refresh it? We can. Zerthine likes the ball and chain on that one. I think that's called a mace, right? A pointy ball on a chain. Try again. I gotta try this instead on a separate page. We'll try it here, over right here. I have to start from 0. Please don't come up with my most recent search. Herbert Trouser Fancy, welcome Herbert, says Manchester. Little Hortification says, yes, there are plenty of stately homes with mile-long driveways. Got to keep the oiks out. O-I-K-S. Got to keep the oiks out and the walls out of sight. What are oiks? Do not search for what are oils. Instead, search for what are oiks. Yes, please. Oik. Slang, UK, Ireland, Commonwealth. A member of the lower classes. And here's an example. The 3 were gifted metal oiks, but Cliff was a musician, schooled in theory. Gifted metal oiks. A metal oik. That's amazing. Okay, we got to try again. Okay. No, not recent search. Gorse Hall. Paste. No, that's an address. Stallybridge is 1L. Stally, B-R-I-D-D-G-E. Gorse Hall, Stallybridge. UK Park. Oh, it's a park now. There we go. Gorse Hall, the name given to 2 large houses in Stallybridge, Greater Manchester, England, on a hill bordering Duncanfield, with 35 acres, and an acre is a lot of land, and views of the Cheshire Plain and the Pennine Hills, so it's on some kind of rise. Gorse Hall is a location in Anthony Trollope's Marion Fay. I guess that's some kind of book or something. It says right here. Is that the old foundation? No shit. Excuse my language. Look at that. There's the old foundation of Gorse Hall. No kidding. You gotta love that. So this has got to be after the original road in, right? Wow. Road and paths this way. There's a path, you can maybe hardly see it, but there's a path forks here. So more than one path in that area. Maybe there, I don't know what was there. Maybe a well? Maybe it wasn't so far away. But there's a dead area there for some reason. Mile-long road. Another foundation. Hence the 2 houses mentioned. I'm betting this one was the one that old George and Maggie lived. Well, that's the other house. And then the road goes, oh, it's a mile, but it's a winding road. That's a long road. Look at that. Check that out. You can barely see it. There it is again. Yeah, that's a mile-ass road. Heck yeah. Look at that, will ya? More paths to the side. You gotta be kidding me. This is amazing. When does it reach civilization? There we go. There's the main drag. Amazing. That's a mile-long road for sure. Check it out. So the constables are coming up this road, man. And I assume they're going here. Because it says Gorse Hall, yeah. So this one is Gorse Hall. No kidding. How close can we get? The Seven's house. So that's the back of the house, maybe? A real nice back of the house? And no, wait a second. Kind of a weird setup. You'd think the front of the house would be opposite the road. You would think. Some other structures. A place to draw water, a place to make soap. Which I assume they did for themselves. Oh, this was probably a nice facade in its day. So that's the front of the house there. Okay. That's the side. You come up along the side, and that's the front of the house there. They have this nice porch on this side of the house for enjoying themselves, but there's the front. Isn't that amazing? Little notification says, no one farms dirt with sarcasm like an old English peasant. Thank you, Little Horn. Taco says, it's amazing to see the old foundations, isn't it? Probably a well. The old homes had them. Brooke Birch, I'm going to allow this. Brooke Birch says, oiks we just call white trash in the States. Lower class, white trash. I can say that because I'm allowed to say that. All right. Hearing the bell, two police constables started running up the mile-long driveway to Gorse Hall. Upon entering the kitchen, they found George unaliving from loss of blood through 15 knife wounds inflicted by the intruder. So he had a gun and a knife? George Harry Storrs died shortly after 10 p.m. Wow. The hunt was on for the unaliver. When interviewed by police later, Marion Lindley and Eliza Cooper thought that the unaliver resembled a nephew of Mrs. Storrs, a Cornelius Howard, with whom they had fallen out a number of years before. Consequently, the police issued an arrest warrant for Mr. Howard. George's funeral took place on the 11th of November. The following day, James Worrell, the coachman, failed to return home from a shopping trip. He was eventually found later that evening, hanging from a beam in the hayloft. Cornelius Howard was apprehended on the 17th of November, trying to break into a shop in Oldham, about 4 miles from Stalybridge. Although when arrested, Howard called himself John Ward. The arresting officer, Constable Ernest Schofield, thought he looked like the wanted man Howard. What if they had pictures back then? They wanted pictures back then? They must have, right? Wanted posters from 1910. With pictures. And I assume if he was a man of means, they had a picture of him. I would have thought drawings with pictures. $50 reward. $500 reward. $100. $50, $250. Wanted dead or alive, this poster says. Taco says, yes, they did. In Fremantle, we have some wanted posters outside the old police courts and warders' cottages. We have them in our post offices. If you want to see wanted poster, I think they still do that. I haven't looked for them recently. No, wait, a couple of years ago I did see one. Yeah, we have wanted posters in our post offices over the pond, across the pond. The Gentleman Killer. This guy wanted dead or alive. Oh, Jesse or Frank James. Okay, whatever. Gentleman Killer. John Wesley Hardin. Again, another one from the West. I guess that's why it's drawn. Not too many photographers out in the West. Although there's a good movie, Another Man, Another Chance. Another Man, Another Chance. Good movie about a photographer from France in the Old West. Partly. There's other good parts. No, the movie's amazing. Let me just show it to you. You're not getting off track here, are you, Bill? I can't remember the name of the main actor, and he's one of my favorites. Another Man. There it is. 1977. James Caan was in this. Good movie. And Genevieve Bujold is in this also. The woman who almost played the captain in Voyager, Star Trek series, but just couldn't hack it. So they got the better character, the better actress for the part. God bless her. Why am I going back? What's the guy's name? Cornelius Howard. Howard was brought to the Duncanfield police station, where an identity parade was organized. Identity parade, what do we call it, a lineup? Police lineup? An identity parade was organized, and 3 witnesses at Gorse Hall on the night of the murder picked out Howard as the intruder. 3 witnesses. The police, armed with eyewitness identification, refused to accept Howard's alibi that he was in Huddersfield at the time of the unaliving. When the trial opened at Chester Assizes, Howard's barrister, the lawyer Trevor Lloyd, brought from Huddersfield witnesses to corroborate the alibi. James Davies, the landlord of the Ring a Bells public house. Reed Tavern, confirmed that Howard was in fact playing in a domino contest the night of the unaliving. The jury took 30 minutes to acquit Cornelius Howard of the unaliving. The police, embarrassed by the verdict, had to start over again. This time they had a lucky break. On the evening of June the 10th, now we're going from winter to summer, a young courting couple were disturbed by a man walking from Gorse Hall to Matley along Early Bank Road. The man attacked the couple, injuring the young man with a knife. Luckily, the injuries were not serious, and the description given to the police turned out to be similar to the man wanted for the store's unaliving. Subsequent inquiries by the police led them to issue an arrest warrant for Mark Wilde. Wilde was later arrested, charged with the attempted unaliving of the young man, and sentenced to a paltry 2 months in prison. Although the prison's over there. Not wanted posters from 1910, but English prisons. From the same time area. Look at those. Look at this stuff. Look at this thing. Look at that. Oh, there's the wall. Check out the height of that wall. Of course, they didn't use barbed wire back then, right? Exercise time. Wow, lots of detail in this photo. Depressing. And they had to wear uniforms with hats. Damn. On his release, he was rearrested for the unaliving of George Harry Stores. Another identity parade was arranged where Eliza Cooper and Mary Evans picked him out as the intruder at Gorse Hall. However, Marion Lindley could not be sure. He was the attacker. Wilde gave no credible alibi for that night. Checks found on that night of the murder, Checks found that on the night of the unaliving, he failed to turn up for work. This time, the police carried out their investigation more thoroughly, leading them to believe they had the killer of George Harry. George Harry? What's that, his middle name? Wilde was committed for trial at Chester Assizes. A stroke of luck for Wilde was that barrister Edward Theophilus Nelson, who had represented Cornelius Howard at the magistrate's court, had been engaged to represent him. The experienced Mr. Nelson successfully argued in court that if the only witnesses to the intrusion at Gorse Hall were convinced that Cornelius Howard was the unaliver, then their identification of Wilde as the unaliver must be ignored. And if there was any reasonable doubt about Wilde, he must be acquitted. What if that's part of their law? It is over here. After only 50 minutes, the jury agreed with the barrister, and Wilde was found not guilty. On his release, he met up with Cornelius Howard for celebratory drinks. Another intriguing twist to the unaliving came when a rumor spread locally that around the time of the murder, 2 foreign gentlemen, say the Germans, just guessing, were seen in Stalybridge, Sahan, and that they had disappeared soon afterwards while the police were searching for Cornelius Howard. Could these have been relatives of the young Maria Hole, say the German, who had died so tragically? My apologies to the descendants of Maria Hole, if any. Had they come to reap revenge on Mr. Stores? Maria Hole, who had died so tragically a few years before. That's it. Fascinating. We did 45 minutes on that. Little Hornification asks, why unaliving and not the other word? Is the word unaliving offensive now? Well, YouTube does scan for keywords. They scan the voices for keywords. And on TikTok, that's what they use. They use unaliving, essay, sexual assault for crimes like grape. And they use grape. None other spring to mind immediately. Those are the most often used. Yeah. And of course, Schmittler. The Chinese are scanning TikTok for the occurrence of that word, like YouTube scans us on YouTube. And if I say the word unaliving too many times, and I don't mean the euphemism, then my video might be promoted, might be shadow banned. And since I believe with some evidence that this is the wave of the future, I'm getting ready now because I don't do this for free. I am now on YouTube. I'm doing it for free on YouTube now. Please come to Twitch, people, if you can, if your conscience allows you. But I cannot do it without financial support. So Yeah, you have to change what you do every few years, I'm discovering, if you're creating content for the public on the internet. My apologies. European says, evidence of our LGBTQ culture. Is that taco or is that green tea? Green tea says, my grandfather watered the James Gang's horses. After the Gallatin, Missouri bank robbery. Shazbot loves Kate Mulgrew, so do I. She also had a short run as Mrs. Columbo back in the day, before her talent was recognized. At the time, he did not know it was the James Gang. He just knew they were trouble and he wanted them gone. He got them what they needed so they would get on their way. He heard of the robbery later. Watering the horses after the Gallatin, Missouri bank robbery. Thank you, green tea. We have a topic coming up, and what is that topic? That is from green tea, and it is the Antwalkers of Hiroshima. We used to say Hiroshima. Thanks for Little Hornification says, thanks for the explanation. I'm sure other people are wondering too. You're most welcome. Ant walking survivors. Huh. There's a Reddit. Let's do the Reddit. Posted by John Everhart. John without the H. Today I learned that after the bombing of Hiroshima, there were ant-walking alligators that the survivors saw everywhere. Men and women who were now disfigured. Oh. That's how they described the men and women who were disfigured. Any responses to that? Rick Reflex says, the alligator people did not scream because they could not. The noise they made was worse. They uttered a continuous murmur like locusts on a summer night. Wow. That's from Rick Reflex. From username was deleted. Imagine how scared and terrified they must have been. They would have unalived, clueless as to what happened, considering no bomb ever had such effects. Imagine you walking to the bank on a Sunday morning. Was it a Sunday? And the next instant you're an alligator person, but you don't unalive yet. You linger for a few hours while you wonder, what the fuck happened? And why did it happen to me? Slippery Widget says, I see a lot of people, obviously without much imagination, confused by the concept of ant-walking alligators. So here goes. And here's another explanation of their disfigurement. And Quirticus, who evidently needed that reminder, says, holy shit. All the ant-walking monsters from Studio Ghibli movies just got 100 times more disturbing. This is the kind of crawling monster I'm referring to from Princess Mononoke. From deleted, good clarification. Also, the wiki page says that the Antwalkers were those who were in such shock that they followed each other aimlessly in a line like ants. Horrific. Don't want to be that guy, but the book your quote was taken from has been found on less than credible due to dubious sources. Publisher statement. Still a good read. Let's check out that statement. The Last Train from Hiroshima by Charles Pellegrino. And there's nothing there. Can we find it on the Wayback Machine? Duplicate here. Go to the Wayback. YouTube Tools. Research. Wayback's right at the top. Paste in the URL. And it went down in early 2023, looks like. Let's get a look from 2021. Right here. Coffee. Mr. Kilroy, welcome, sir. Welcome, KH Matt. The Last Train from Hiroshima. The survivors look back. Recently, there have been questions about the accuracy of some parts of this book. Huh. At this time, Territory Media will continue to make it available to our customers. But we wanted to make you aware of the issues. Here's a statement from the hardcover publisher, Henry Holt. The discovery of dishonest sources of information. It is easy to understand how even the most diligent author could be duped by a source. But this opens the book to very detailed scrutiny. The author of any work of nonfiction must stand behind its content. We must rely on our authors. Unfortunately, Mr. Pellegrino was not able to answer the additional questions that have arisen about his book to our satisfaction. So what was the controversy? They say accuracy. So let's look for the accuracy of Last Train from Hiroshima. And let's do it in AI. Why is the accuracy questioned of the book? The Last Train from Hiroshima. Oh, I gotta do it with AI, sorry. Answer with AI. Question due to several issues. Fabricated source. Pellegrino relied on a fraudulent source, Joseph Foucault, who claimed to have been a replacement flight engineer on one of the planes that escorted the Enola Gay to Hiroshima. This fabrication was not verified, and its inclusion in the book raised concerns about the author's methods. Unsubstantiated characters. The book describes two characters, Father Matthias and John McQuitty, who supposedly survived the bombing and were involved in the funeral of Father Matthias. However, further investigation failed to confirm their existence, leading to doubts about their authenticity. Lack of academic qualifications. Pellegrino's academic background and qualifications are questioned, which may have impacted his ability to verify and contextualize the survivor accounts and historical information presented in the book. Methodological concerns. Some critics have argued that Pellegrino's approach to gathering and presenting survivor testimony was inadequate, relying too heavily on anecdotal accounts and not providing sufficient context or verification, and historical record changes. This book presents some information that represents a radical change in the historical record, according to Richard Rhodes, author of The Making of the Atomic Bomb. This has led to concerns about the book's potential to alter the established narrative of the Hiroshima bombing without sufficient evidence or rigorous historical verification. I like that, bombing. I just made that up. Oh, there's another one. Bombing. I can't remember. It will probably pop into my head later. Another TikTok abbreviation. Don't want to be that guy, but the book your quote was taken from has been found less than credible. Was only one quote that they talked about the ant people. I was going to say Kopterwaffe. It's Copter Waffle. Says, I was interested in buying this book after reading this. Went to Amazon and found this statement from the publisher. It is with deep regret, which we just read. And then Copter Waffle says, scandal. Ortho Engineer says, wow, there's a bunch of not safe for work pictures here, which we're not going to show. But if you go to if you guys want to research it on your own, it's the first Reddit result on Google. Actually, first Reddit result on Brave search engine. Oh, sorry, doing my eyes again. My apologies. This was made during last week's movies, both of them. I cried during both movies. I'm going to cry now. Mostly at the end. And here's someone who deleted, actually looked at the not safe for work pictures. And he says, fair warning, folks, those are not safe for work. I cringed as I clicked the first. And yeah, it was horrible. I'll have to pass on the rest. Maybe I'm just LGBTQ. And that's a slur there. But damn, that's scary stuff. That's a slur. No One Special says, No One Special 2013 says what we did to other Japanese and European cities was worse. I think he's talking about firebombing, such as the firebombing of Dresden, about which Kurt Vonnegut wrote a book called Slaughterhouse-Five. Good book. Vonnegut's a good writer. They also made a movie out of it. Although, in the movie. John Everhart agrees with No One Special 2013 and says, yes, few people know about the firebombing of Tokyo, which dwarfed both the Nagasaki and Hiroshima in terms of casualties. What is firebombing exactly? Go to dictionary.com. Fire. Bombing. No results. Great. Encyclopedia.com. Encyclopedia. Copy that word. And go, please. Fire beaming. Slaughterhouse 5, the first result. Animal rights raiders destroy years of work. Slaughterhouse 5 again. Suspected KKK tried. Under heavy fire. They're not going to give us a definition, huh? Not a very good encyclopedia. Rapine says firebombing was the use of incendiary bombs. Rapine says most of Japan's buildings were made of wood, so it created horrifying fires. Philip Blair predicts napalm for Vietnam, with which I would agree. Little Hornification says atomic weapons are completely disgusting, as is war. Bill, add World War II to your search terms, says Philip. Philip Blair. Good idea. Bombing of civilians. Still doesn't give a definition of firebombing. Which an encyclopedia should, I think, if it's not a word. Deleted says even the title of this post is gory. Reddit user 1 million bucks says 10 out of 10 would not view pictures of ant-walking alligators. Raylia says Mr. Yamaguchi, the double survivor, was among the advocates of a simple plan to end nuclear war. Mr. Pellegrino writes that the plan went like this. The only people who should be allowed to govern countries with nuclear weapons are mothers and those who are still breastfeeding their babies. Not a bad idea. Never happened. Maybe in an alternate universe. A few more comments. We should probably move on to the next one. Next up. Going home. From Shazbot. Well, here's an interesting one. The Great Chicago Fire. Oh. I want to get my mic wet. Coffee. It occurred in 1871. Let's go to National Geographic for this. And an article at nationalgeographic.org or education.nationalgeographic.org. With no credit given to the author. Maybe at the bottom? Negative. Maps video website. Ooh, website of the Chicago Historical Society. And it's a link, The Great Chicago Fire and the Web of Memory. Let's go there. Verpane says, I hope you understand that my use of that word meant under is timid meaning and not as a derogatory slur. Received and understood. No. I understand. And the audience does too. Well, it's an interesting menu at chicago.org/fire. ChicagoHS.org. Chicago High School? Where? Oh, Chicago History. HS for history? They couldn't get Chicago.org. That was taken. They couldn't get Chicago H. That was taken. So they have to have ChicagoHS.org. Just spitballing here. Chicago History Museum sharing Chicago stories. Historical stories, HS, historical stories maybe. Copyright Chicago History Museum. Subscribe to our newsletter. In what types of news are you interested? Exhibitions, family events. Well, where's the fire? Search for F. Search with Control F. Fire does not occur on the list. Thanks for the link, pal. The Weather Channel, building Chicago for disaster. The progress of the fire, yes, please. At the Encyclopedia of Chicago. Gotcha Man says, got all the suggestions. Here's another. Real underground cities. Thank you, Gotcha Man. Yeah, we have 7. So in a store where there's in a store, I'm so sorry, but in an episode where there's likely to be maybe 5, maybe on the outside 6, and you're number 8. So my apologies. But I'm copying it, and with any luck, I'll remember to save it. I usually don't, but that's a good one. Shazbot remembers listening to Paul Harvey talking about the Chicago fire years ago. Good day. He was a commentator and storyteller. And that's the rest of the story. Gotcha Man says, no problem. Good stuff. Good stuff. Thank you, Gotcha. Philip Blair says, occurring on the same day as the more famous Great Chicago Fire. The Peshtigo Fire has been largely forgotten, even though it unalived 5 times as many people. Wow. The Peshtigo. I got to see that real quick. Yeah, this is still up, Encyclopedia. This ought to bring something up, right? Peshtigo Fire. Badger Paper Mills. There we go, at Badger Paper Mills. Encyclopedia.com. Badger Mills is a leading producer of plain printed and wax paper for the flexible packaging industry. Badger makes about 2/3 of the government butter wrap used in the U.S. Wow. So if you're in the U.S., you probably have had that their product in your hands. And makes the specialty wrapping paper for many well-known products, including Tootsie Rolls, Dentine Gum, Nestle's Candies, that one you can't get apart, and Bit of Honey candy bars. Oh, Bit of Honey, a strong rival to Circus Peanuts on Halloween night. Badger also produces soap wrappers, other candy wrappers, gum wrap, meat packaging, and fast food sandwich packaging. I assume McDonald's, Burger King, Wendy's, etc. The company has been manufacturing bread wrapping since the 1930s. Badger also produces computer paper, copier paper, and other papers. Their brand names: Tananka, Copyright, Envirographic, and Northern Brights. They additionally specialize in custom papers suited to such unique customer needs as odd sizes and colors, especially perforated or punched paper, or other custom designs. They are a wholesaler only, but they do operate a direct sales force to market its packaging and specialty papers. They manage about 17,000 acres of forest land. 17K. And an acre is a lot of land. And they produce about 60% of their own pulp. They also operate a subsidiary, Plastex Incorporated, for plastic and paper substrates. Where's the fire? There we go. The town of Peshtigo, Wisconsin, was the site of one of the nation's most horrific forest fires in 1871. Gale force winds whipped flames through the woods, covering 6 counties of northeastern Wisconsin, and more than 800 people were killed in the fire. Overshadowed by the Great Chicago Fire, which occurred at the same time, the considerably more lethal Peshtigo Fire left the town completely ruined. It was subsequently rebuilt. And because of its proximity to timberland and its ample waterway, well, where's the death toll? We're gonna have to do AI for this. AI. What was the death toll of the Peshtigo fire? Of course, they can't spell Peshtigo. I can barely spell it. Peshtigo. I gotta do AI. AI is really the fastest way to find a lot of answers. Although AI is often wrong. The estimated death toll of the Peshtigo fire, which occurred in 1871, same time as the Chicago fire, ranges between 1,500 and 2,500 people. Okay, what about Chicago fire? Between 1,500 and 2,500. I can reuse the go on the end. Chicago. $300 people. So yeah, many times more at Peshtigo. Where was that reading? Oh, I lost it. We're watching a professional at work here. Where's Peshtigo? Oh, there it is. So we want to go to the Encyclopedia of Chicago, Progress of the Chicago Fire of 1871. The Great Chicago Fire was not one fire, but a succession of 9 separate fires, started by the flying brands carried from earlier burning sites, which then melded into one relentless inferno. It all started with the O'Leary barn, Mrs. O'Leary's cow. We're going to have to look into that. On a rear alley of DeKoven Street, on the near west side, at 8:30 p.m. on October 8th, 1871. amid firefighting difficulties and official confusion, the fire spread north and eastward. 90 minutes after the O'Leary fire, a burning brand caught in the updraft sailed over and landed on Batem's Mills to the north, starting a second fire. Brands from there started other fires across the river, near and in the business district. Oh boy, the businesses got creamed. And by 2:30 a.m., a flying brand started a fire on property north of the river. Given prevailing winds, the coalescing fires, coalescing means to come together, burned most of the western portion of the city center and a swath of the north side, heading north-northeast to the lakefront by 6 a.m. the following day. As much as it said, Madame Tussaud's wax bill. By then it was unstoppable. Over the next 22 hours, the fire finished off the business district, the lakefront harbor. I wonder if all the boats burned. Oh, we got to find that out. The harbor on the Chicago fire. Harbor. And a large wedge of the north side, as far as Fullerton, by which time the rain helped it burn itself out. Well, I need some coffee. Okay. So we want lakefront harbor damage during the Chicago fire. Lakefront harbor damage in the Chicago fire. Images, please. Come on, Lakefront Harbor. Got to bring this to Google. Copy. Paste. 1871. Oh, come on. Why can't we find it? Require lakefront, require harbor. Plus harbor. Images. All right, here we go. That's like it. Here's from offshore. They were smart. Only 300 people died in this fire. And people are running to their boats and escaping to the river, it looks like. Wow. Yeah, I mean, look. I don't see any boats on fire. Or is that boat on fire there? It looks like there's a bunch of smoke coming from that boat. So the boats that were too near, perhaps. That is a bunch of smoke coming from that boat right there. That's the only thing that could be diagonal like that is a stack of smoke. There are the masts with no sails. So yes, if you didn't get your boat out, you risked having it burned. Oh, check it out. The harbor had an inlet to some kind of river. Of course, there's a river right through Chicago, right? You see that in the movies. And people running from the fire on the shore. Holy shit. There's people escaping the fire. The building's blackened in front, silhouetted from the fire behind. The front-facing buildings. Right on the lakefront. It shows a little dinghy here going to a boat. It shows lots of people on the boat, too. People on the dock, out on the dock. This is like this is almost like how it actually happened. Maybe it is. Maybe they drew from an eyewitness account. All those people completely, apparently, covering the lakefront. Over here where there are hills, not so much. But here on the left, yeah, that boat's on fire. Isn't that something? The Chicago River, Philip Blair reminds me. Thank you, Chicago. Shazbot says, that looks apocalyptic. Shazbot says fire department was working overtime back then. Aftermath. What's this? Oh, this is a big picture. I mean, very high resolution. A fire is a horrible thing to see. A fire in a building. I was witness to one such event. Merchants getting out with their goods by wagon. People on horseback. People on foot. What are they carrying? Oh, that's behind them. Evidently on some kind of pedestrian bridge over the Chicago River. Because there's a boat right there. With a man on it. A couple of parts of this are colored. It's a very high-res picture. Private coach. So this center area was reserved for horse traffic. And then on the left, a civilian passageway, and on the right, civilian passageway. The center was reserved for horse traffic. Even a single horse. Which is right here in the front. There's a merchant with his goods, including a barrel of pickles, I'm guessing. Get those pickles up there! Another merchant. Or peddler. Men, don't forget your hats. Again, the front of the building in silhouette because of the fire behind it. Yeah, fire. Seeing a fire in a building is really scary. It takes over. There's a black and white of the same engraving. There's another lakefront. Also colorized. Not tremendous resolution. showing the people, again, lining up on the lakefront walkway, boardwalk, whatever, sidewalk. Hopefully not a boardwalk, sidewalk. But who knows? Whoops, wrong key. No burning boats here, apparently. But then again, fire right at the edge of town, right up to the edge. Oh, and on the pier, all these people. Wow. Concrete pier, I imagine. Badger Mills. And back to text results. Ultimately, there we go. Progress of the Chicago fire. The fire burned itself out. Obviously. No fire department could deal with this. Next up. Philip Blair says, if I visit Chicago in a time machine, I'm not going on that day. Back when I was writing short stories, I wrote a science fiction story about time travelers who went back to Chicago on the night of the fire to relieve a museum of a valuable of some valuables. Spoiler, they both die. They're both unalive. Next up is boy, I'm making a lot of copies here. Eli Redshirt, who wishes to know the Berkeley Mystery Walls. Interesting. At qked.org, uncovering the real story behind the East Bay Mystery Walls. Excellent. Oh, check it out. It looks like one of the walls there. No, we're not going to watch on YouTube. Bay curious, so to speak. From fresh air. Uncovering the real story behind the East Bay Mystery Walls. For more than a century, people in the Bay Area, and especially East Bay, have puzzled over the existence of stone walls scattered on ridges from near San Jose north to the Berkeley Hills. Sometimes the walls are built in long straight lines. Sometimes they form angles. Occasionally you'll find rectangular or circular constructions. Who built these things and how long ago, and why? Maybe voyagers from a lost continent, visitors from outer space, or a vanished tribe of quote-unquote superior Native Americans, as if they were not all superior. People have suggested these walls could have been meant for defense, or as navigational aids for extraterrestrials. Taco asks, will you be writing an anthology of your short stories? I have a couple. I guess I could. Taco suggests I merch it. That's an interesting suggestion. Thank you. I'll check into that. You'll see a flash. Thank you, Taco. We started getting Mystery Walls questions almost as soon as Bay Curious opened for business. Bay Curious. Including one from Eric Haven. He's an artist. He writes and draws graphic novels. He's also been a producer on Mythbusters. He wants to get to the bottom of things. His query, who built the East Bay Mystery Walls? They appear to be ancient, many hundreds or even thousands of years old. I wonder if you could tell how old they are. Eric came to the Bay Area in 1989 as we hiked up a steep rocky trail in the Berkeley Hills to visit a wall segment there. He told me that's when he first heard about a nearby mystery wall. He said, and the way it was relayed to me was very much like an urban myth or urban legend. The vagueness of it. No one knows who built it. No one knows why. Huh. In New England, of course, it would have been to clear land to farm. But long walls, miles long. Half a mile east of Grizzly Peak stand the remnants of stone walls which have long baffled the researchers and curiosity of antiquarians. That same little essay goes on to drop a theory or two. Published in the San Francisco Chronicle. The first mention of it in 1896 in a Sunday publication. The same little essay goes on to drop the theories that perhaps the walls were the work of what was called a long-forgotten race, or maybe the Aztecs of Mexico, using the walls for defense. Well, no. You could definitely climb over that wall. And no towers are mentioned yet. You would need towers along the wall. People to keep watch. The section Eric Haven and I tramped up to, writes the author. Who is the author? By Dan Breck at kqed.org. For structures that have excited such feverish speculation for so long, most of them look pretty modest. The rocks used for construction, local limestone, are stacked or piled, not mortar or cut to fit. Most are small enough that one person could place them easily. Some would have required a crew. They are covered with lichen. Eric said his own theory was that there was an earthquake here, and it opened fissures in the ground. He thought these were purely ceremonial. There ought to be signs of that, though, right? Slip faults. Now it's Taco with the dirty innuendo. Turnabout is fair play. We observe that the wall runs parallel to a modern barbed wire fence, marking a property boundary. And they suggest it was built as a part of a property line. That ruler must have had a lot of property. Yeah, some local ruler, right? Looking for an answer meant going through old newspaper stories, tracking down amateur sleuths' accounts of the walls, searching old maps for evidence of the structures, and finding out whether real live archaeologists had ever studied the walls. We could probably see this on Google Earth. Let's give that a try. Well, you'd have to know, well, it says Berkeley Hills, right? Let's give it a shot. Berkeley Hills, California, right? Okay, Stallybridge, move over. It's not doing it. Go up. Good. Berkeley. Berkeley Hills, CA. Mountain range. The Berkeley Hills are a range on the Pacific Coast Ranges, and overlook the northeast side of the valley that encompasses San Francisco Bay. Berkeley Hills here. I don't think we're going to get a sign of the walls here, but we'll give it a shot. They were going from where to where, did they say? Half-mile east of Grizzly Peak. Grizzly Peak. There's Grizzly Peak. To what direction? Half-mile east. No scale here, but east is this away. Half a mile. Maybe this area? Here? Trails. I'm not seeing. Not finding it. Half a mile east. No scale here, of course. Why not? Or is there? Grizzly Peak, Vista Point. So the peak might be somewhere else. Maybe that's the peak there. Half a mile. There's a road, so half a mile is quite a bit to this way. And then you have civilization. No, I don't think we're going to find it. There have been many newspaper pieces over the years. Most have repeated the original article's conclusion. Did a colony from lost Atlantis once populate the Berkeley Hills? Asks another story. There was an amazing finding unearthed by the University of California. Stone Age relics discovered in Berkeley Hills. Henry Coffinberry Myers uncovered during forays into the hills a 5-faced stone image, stone axes and pieces of pottery. Myers said the mineral deposits on the carved stone image proved it was between 1 and 10,000 years old. I'm glad he could narrow it down. Myers and other experts the Chronicle contacted said the artifacts in the walls and the hills were evidence that early hill dwellers, perhaps giants who had gained immense strength by lifting big rocks, had migrated from China. But Myers' find was almost certainly a hoax. The Chronicle never said another word about the professor and his discoveries. Myers left Berkeley shortly after to manage a sugar refinery in Hawaii. He eventually donated his artifacts, telling a different story about where they'd come from, to a Bible college in Spokane, Washington. Be nice to track those down. Is the Bible college a link? It is. So the Myers artifacts. Open link a new tab. Search for Myers. Two results. Fire station number 7, fire station number 13. No, no results. In 1908, the Berkeley Hills walls were back in the news. Professor Joseph Voyle, president of the Society for Psychical Research, identified some of the walls as remains of a prehistoric civilization. No kidding. He was led to the site by a kind of divining rod. He also claimed to have discovered a radium mine beneath San Francisco and reported he had invented an earthquake detector and figured out how to make, non-intoxicating alcohol. What for? He died an indigent in Alameda County's public hospital in 1915, having succumbed to what one paper called an infirmity of which he had long been a sufferer. The stone walls through the landscape on Monument Peak. Okay, Monument Peak, my friends. Monument Peak. We're going to get this. Monument Peak. Come on. New. No. Good. Monument. Come on. What is going wrong? M. For some reason, it's doing a search here, down here. M. Shift M brings up a search. Okay, we're going to do this. Cut and paste. San Francisco? Finally. Monument near Twin Peaks. Twin Peaks. We didn't get it. Damn. That's not good. Why not? Try Hopefully this search is Boolean. Monument Peak, San Francisco. Monument Peak, California. X out. Paste. Paste. Nope, paste not working now. Paste. Did it never copy? Looking. It did copy. Spell. There we go. This is really dicey, this Google Earth. Monument Peak, California. There it is. All right. Says it's here. Aha, show us the wall, show us the wall. It's not that trail, is it? Oh, come on. The stone walls wind through the landscape on Monument Peak. Oh, here's a big rock. Big rock formation here. And it looks like it continues from this big rock. No, that's part of the wall. No, that's the wall. That's a close-up of the wall. And there's more of the wall right there, but that's a road. Come on. There was a lot of bumpy hills. Those are like right here, maybe around here. Let's go. Wait, is that it? There's striation here. And an angle. Ah, straight and angled. I bet you this is one of them. All right. I bet you that's one of them. There's an angle there. They said straight and angled. Yes, indeedy. No kidding. That's it. Straight and angled. How far can we get up before we lose the striation? Through the road, it passes. Ooh, an interesting angle there. Something built along the wall, or at the end of the wall here. Is that old? That looks like a number of parallel walls. It looks like it. Anyway, though, it continues here through this road. It kind of ends there. What about the other direction? Looks like there's a bridge here. Maybe not, though. But it looks like a bridge over the wall. There's this dark area here. Across the road. More parallels. Wow. So why would they build a wall? Why would they build parallel walls? Why don't they mention that? There's the second occurrence of parallel walls. What the hey? What? Where's that angle? There we go. Ending in this morass or whatever this is. That's where it ends, is it? Looks like. There's a hell of a hill here. Maybe that's why it gets really hilly here, maybe. But that looks like, maybe that's a bunch of rocks right there. And look at this right here. Maybe another bunch of rocks. First, this one. Maybe. What about the other one? Where is it? There we go. Yeah. A short run of rocks. What the hell? What the hell? What the hell? Gotcha Man says, Sutta Hall, like on Star Trek. Little Hornification says, non-intoxicating alcohol. Water, then. What about those parallel walls? They don't even mention it in the article. Does parallel occur anywhere in this article? Yes, well, no, just to the one that runs parallel to a modern barbed wire fence. Any other occurrences of parallel? No other occurrences. So no, they leave it out. Why? Why leave that out? Part of the mystery. Maybe that's the central area where they first brought the rocks, and then so that the workers could distribute them from that area. But then why put them in a line? Switching hands here. In 1908, the Berkeley Hills walls were back in the news. Oh, we did that one. Professor Boyle, the one who found the non-alcohol or invented it. While Myers and Vole departed the scene, Harold French showed up again and again in print over the years, promoting the legend of the walls. I say legend advisedly. In published writings through the early 1920s, Mr. French never failed to describe the walls as prehistoric or ancient. But beyond the wall's mere presence, the only evidence he ever cited was the testimony of unnamed old-timers, he said, who had told him that the walls had been a puzzle to both early settlers and Native Americans. It's not clear if trained archaeologists ever seriously studied the walls at the time French was writing. At one point, he reported he had spoken to a certain teacher of anthropology about the wall's origins. The anthropologist reportedly responded, "From time to time, my students have come and told me of these walls, but I never took them seriously enough to climb way up there in that beanstalk land to see them. I suppose they are either old sheep corrals or the boundaries of ranches." Pretty big-ass ranch. Eventually, though, amateur researchers started trying to decipher the walls. One was Seth Simpson, who spent years documenting the presence of the walls and puzzling over their origins. His conclusion, summarized in a 1972 number of Pursuit, the Journal of the Investigation of the Unexplained, is classic. Simpson said there was a possibility some of the walls had been erected by local tribes to trap and kill game. Very tiny game that, well, tiny game can scrabble over it. Taller game can jump over it, I imagine. They really didn't show anything to scale. Is there a picture to scale? And where would that be? Right here. Images. Berkeley Hills walls. Hopefully we'll get something to scale here. How high are they? Why is that automatically brought up here? Show me someone standing beside it, please. A lot of pretty pictures of the wall here. Okay, here we go. So we've seen them all about this size. And it goes underneath the fence. Open image in new tab. Going underneath the fence. So, again, smaller animals can scrabble over them. Taller animals can jump over them. But sheep, maybe sheep cannot, right? Short-legged, not well-known jumpers. There's our scale. Simpson said, all I can suggest is that they were built by unknown persons in an unknown year for an unknown purpose. And very possibly they will remain a puzzle for the indefinite future. I would start excavations near those parallel walls, man. 2 cases of that we saw. Unless later peoples drew rocks from the wall and then placed them in parallel lines. But for what? If they wanted to use them to build, you would think they'd cart them away. Other wall fanatics were exploring the hills too. Robert Fisher, a physician from Fremont, and a friend from Berkeley, Russell Swanson, took a lively interest in them, especially those near the south end of the bay. They were inclined to see massive rock formations on the ridges and highlands as the work of unknown ancients and called them the earliers. The meaning of them was baffling. Perhaps navigational aid for ET. At least one real live archaeologist joined Fisher to tour the area, Monument Peak. Fisher wanted me to come and authenticate what he was finding, the archaeologist Breck Parkman said in an email. I said, show me the best you have, and he did. Parkman said the area featured lots and lots of stone walls he believed to be dated sometime in the 1800s. Most were built, he felt, in the later years of the century, perhaps by Chinese workers, perhaps by Basque sheep herders. Oh, the Basque moved to California? Interesting. Basque is it Basque like, is that like adjoining Spain? The Basque people, they have their own little country there, speak a different language. Is that the Basque? I think it is. He found a handful of structures, possibly hunting blinds and prayer circles he thought could have been Native American in origin. It was these features that convinced me that among the many late 19th century rock features on the East Bay Hills, we might find a few older features of importance, Parkman wrote. It is worth checking out, he says, but I don't know who would be interested. He means what professional would be interested? One reason professionals may have stayed away, Parkman added, is not wanting to be associated with the fringe element, responsible for the wild hypotheses through the years. Hypotheses. Another archaeologist went up there to look at them, Jeff Fentress. What's back here? Oh yeah, let's get that out of there. Fentress said, when I was growing up in Berkeley, he was told the walls were built by Lemurians, inhabitants of the lost continent of Mu, or Mu, gotta be Mu. Said to have existed in the Pacific Ocean somewhere. And stories like that are still coming up. The History Channel asked him whether a Chinese admiral might have erected them. And a British TV interviewed him about whether the West African adventurers might have put up walls during a visit 30,000 years ago. Fentress said the problem with all those theories is that there's simply no evidence that any of these real or imagined groups ever landed there. He said, so I think you have to look at the walls in the context who was actually here in the Bay Area. Native Americans for 10,000 years, long before the arrival of Spanish and Mexican colonists and the gold rush era of the Americans. But Fentress said there is no indication Native American people built rock walls that extended for hundreds or thousands of feet. There are no accounts of them building massive wall structures or corrals of any other sort of rock features that we see in East Bay. Fentress and other archaeologists who have studied the walls do agree there is an explanation. The rock walls were the work of us, the people who pushed the native tribes off the land. Fentress said some wall building may have begun in the Mission period. I assume he means Spanish, Mexican. And walls like the ones in the hills followed, built to mark property lines. Others put up as part of ranching and farming operations, such as those that were known to have existed, both in Berkeley Hills and the Monument Peak area. He also points to many European immigrant groups known to have ranched and farmed in the hills. Did these people make rock walls in their countries? Fentress asks. Look at them all: Portugal, Spain, Ireland, Germany, Switzerland. Of course they made rock walls. Hell, everybody makes rock walls. In New England, they made rock walls. But he has a point. Fentress and others also point out there was no shortage of labor. Chinese crews paid as little as a penny per linear foot were hired to build ranch walls in Mariposa and Tehama counties, for instance. And Native Americans were forced into indentured servitude to provide labor. But Fentress concedes his explanations are speculative. The main thing to do is to systematically record and map all the walls. Once they were mapped, researchers could compare their locations to older maps showing historic property lines. Genius idea. If you have just one person, one modern person in the late 1700s, early 1800s, or maybe on old Spanish maps, who shows his property lines on a map, then you're all set. Just one person with that feature, and you got a good start. He said it would also be useful to dig along the base of the walls, no kidding, to study their construction and to look for artifacts. It would also help to study the rocks used in the structures to confirm from what area they came. It is assumed they came from the same area as the walls themselves. Well, wouldn't they know that already? Geologists, although no geologist has yet been mentioned. Are there limestone rocks in the area? Dating techniques could be useful too. One experimental study uses the growth of lichens as a dating technique. Good idea, because they stay there forever, and I assume the old ones do as well. Oh, there was one experimental study. Using lichens as dating, this technique estimated that the surviving wall segment in Berkeley Hills may have been built between 1850 and 1880. Don't disregard that clue. But Fentress said you'd want to do something more systematically. You would need 100 lichen sites, he says, to really come to a firm conclusion. Historical accounts are in short supply. Verpine confirms Basque is in the northern region of Spain that borders France and was once its own country. Thank you, Verpine. Okay, guys, it's time to sign off, but don't forget, going up this Wednesday, that's tomorrow, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. The movies, and I can't see them. You can see them. Zombieland and Centurion. Zombieland, the hunting zombies in an amusement park, a adventure, gruesome zombie comedy. Thank you, Gotcha Man. Well, thank you, Shazbot. And Centurion, a cohort of Legion soldiers separated from the Legion, having to fight their way through the army of the Gauls and out of the forest. Until then, may God bless and protect you all.